Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
The time is now 10:01, and I will call the meeting of the District of Columbia Board of Ethics and Government Accountability to order. I'm Bega Chairperson Norma Hutcheson, and this meeting is being held at the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability at 1030 15th Street, Suite 700 West, and virtually. Joining me today for this meeting are board members Charles Nottingham, who's appearing with us virtually, Felice Smith, Darrin Sobin, and Melissa Tucker. Together, the five of us constitute a quorum for this meeting. Since it was first posted, there have been no changes to the agenda, so I ask that you please take a moment to review the agenda, and then we'll need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Now, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda for today's meeting. If there are no comments or suggestions, all those in favor, please indicate that you are in favor of adopting the agenda by signifying with your approval sign, aye.
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 No, hearing none, the board has adopted the agenda for today's meeting. Also before us are the minutes from the April 2025 meeting. Will a member please make a motion that we consider approval of the meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that the board consider the approval of the April 2025 meeting minutes. If there are any questions, or if there are no questions, then we can vote. Please indicate that you are in favor of approving the April 2025 meeting minutes by signifying with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the board approves the April 2025 meeting minutes. Next on our agenda is a report from the Office of Open Government. Director Allen, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson Hutcheson and members of the board. I am Niquelle Allen, Director of Open Government, and I am pleased to present this report on the activities of the Office of Open Government, or OOG. Our mission is to ensure that all persons receive full and complete information concerning the affairs of the District of Columbia government and the actions of its officials. Since the last board meeting, OOG has continued its work to ensure that the District of Columbia government's operations are transparent, open to the public, and promote civic engagement. To that end, OOG has enforced the Open Meetings Act, advised on the Freedom of Information Act requirements, and provided trainings on those transparency laws. OOG has proudly served as advocates for an open and transparent government. First, I will present Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act advice rendered by the office. Advisory opinions. I have not issued an advisory opinion since the last board meeting. Informal advice. Since the last board meeting, OOG has responded informally via email, telephone, or teleconference to requests for assistance as follows: 11 requests for Open Meetings Act advice, 5 requests for Freedom of Information Act advice, and 9 requests for technical assistance with open-dc.gov. Next is meeting monitoring. OOG staff attends public bodies meetings in person and remotely to ensure compliance with the Open Meetings Act. They also inspect public bodies websites and OOG central meeting calendar for public meeting notices and records. OOG's attorneys provide legal advice on Open Meetings Act compliance and take corrective action if necessary. Since the last board meeting, OOG's legal staff attended 12 public body meetings. As a result of the monitoring, 5 corrective measures were communicated. The public bodies failed to post a proper agenda pursuant to the regulations. The agenda did not have the governing language, and post a meeting notice and complete a meeting notice and publish a notice of a meeting in the DC Register. Training and outreach activities is as follows: Introduction to the Open Meetings Act for boards of trustees for DC public charter schools. On April 9th, Attorney Joan Lelma presented Introduction to Open Meetings Act for Boards of Trustees for DC Public Charter Schools. The training provided a brief account of OOG's function and an overview of the application of the Open Meetings Act to public bodies, in particular Boards of Trustees for DC Public Charter Schools, which included meeting procedures and before and after meeting requirements under the Open Meetings Act. This was the first in OOG's new educational training series for this public body, and the schedule has been published. OOG staff and I attended this training virtually. Understanding the Open Meetings Act training. On April 17th, Attorney Advisor Brandon Lewis presented this training to DC public body members and their staff. The training covered the basics of the Open Meetings Act and best practices concerning the statute, and this constitutes part of OOG's ongoing monthly OMA training series. OOG staff and I attended the training virtually. Open Meetings Act training to the DC Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection Board. On April 25th, Attorney Advisor Anthony J. Skirbo presented an Open Meetings Act training to the DC Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection Board members and commissioners. This training covered the basics of the Open Meetings Act. District of Columbia Judicial and Bar Conference, the future of the profession, shaping the next generation of legal practice. On April 25th, I, along with attorneys Lelma and Lewis, attended the DC Judicial and Bar Conference call to order and report session presented by the Honorable Anna Blackburn Rigsby, Chief Judge, DC Court of Appeals, and the Honorable Milton C. Lee Jr., Chief Judge, Superior Court of the District of Columbia. Chief Judges Blackburn, Rigsby, and Lee reported on the state of the DC Court of Appeals and DC Superior Court, respectively. The next item in the conference was the Future of Law, Navigating Challenges and Opportunities in the Legal Profession panel discussion. At the conference, I, along with attorney Lelma and Lewis, attended the Future of Law, Navigating Changes and Opportunities in the Legal Profession panel discussion with the following panelists: Brian Schwab, Attorney General for the District of Columbia; Vickman Schwab, excuse me, I'm probably saying the name wrong, Executive Director, DC Legal Aid Clinic; Gwendolyn Ringard, Chair, Steptoe; and George Washington Jr., Chief Litigation Counsel, Orange Business Services. Roger Fairfax, the Howard University School of Law Dean, moderated this panel discussion on how the legal profession is adapted to challenges brought on in part by artificial intelligence, with cross-sector focus, which included legal education, law firm governance, in-house counsel, client relationships, and legal aid. The next item in the conference is Shaping the Future of AI, a fireside chat with visionary leaders. I, along with Chief Counsel Neal, attorneys Lelma, Lewis, and Skirbo, attended this panel discussion with panelists Victoria A. Espinel, CEO of Business Software Alliances; Miriam Vogel, President and CEO of Equal AI; the moderator Ed Waters, Chief Strategy Officer, VLEX, and Adjunct Professor, Georgetown Law School, led the panelists to a discussion on the implications of AI for policy, ethics, and innovation, including the following: the role of government and the private sector collaboration in AI policy, ethical considerations in AI development and deployment, and strategies for fostering transparency, accountability, and trust in AI systems. The next item is So You Want to Be a Judge on the District of Columbia Courts Forum. I, along with Chief Counsel Neal and Attorney Lelma, attended this forum with the following speakers: the Honorable V.J. Shanker, Associate Judge, D.C. Court of Appeals; the Honorable Tanya M. Jones-Bozier, Associate Judge, D.C. Superior Court; Marie C. Johns, Chair of the D.C. Judicial Nominating Commission; Addie R. Smith, Commissioner, D.C. of the Judicial Nomination Commission. Tracy Brinkley Nuttall, Executive Director, moderated the forum where the speakers discussed the following processes: judicial application, nomination, and the appointment process for the D.C. Court of Appeals and Superior Court for D.C. The speakers provided information on the qualifications for judicial office. The next is generative AI for attorneys, a hands-on workshop. Attorney advisors Skirbo and Lewis attended this hands-on workshop with presenter Elizabeth Hopkins, legal research consultant LexisNexis, and moderator Lisa L. Libo, co-director Paralegal Studies Graduate Program, Georgetown University. The interactive workshop provided attendees with the opportunity to explore platforms such as Lexis Plus AI, Case Text Code Counsel, and Chat GPT for the attendees to be equipped with the skills and insights to integrate generative AI tools effectively in their practice. Next is Can a Robot Write My Brief training session. I, along with Chief Counsel Neal, attorneys Lelma, Skirbo, and Lewis, attended this training session. Ethical and practical advice on using AI for legal research and writing, presented by Mariam Hatcher, Senior Counsel, Corporate Sustainability, Mars Incorporated, and Laurel Moorer Law Librarian, DC Court of Appeals. The session provided a comprehensive overview of the current ethical landscape surrounding AI in the legal field and highlighted the risk and responsibilities associated with the adoption of AI and how to skillfully leverage it to enhance efficiency and effectiveness in the workplace. The last item in training, ESC Group Reception Week AI and Real World Compliance Programs discussion on April 28th at the invitation of EQS Group's Managing Director, Marco Goldberg. Chief Counsel Neal attended one of ESQ's Reception Week events at Bakira Restaurant in Washington, D.C. EQS Group is an international cloud provider for corporate compliance and ethics, data privacy, sustainability management, and investor relations, headquartered in Munich, Germany, which operates in New York City. The reception discussion subject was how AI is being applied in real-world compliance programs. Litigation and legislative update is next. I will report on one federal FOIA case, Dr. Patrick Lentz versus IRS, Internal Revenue Service. I have previously reported on this federal FOIA case, which is an attempt to overturn a longstanding ruling regarding a dispute concerning a federal FOIA production of documents. The facts of this case date back to 1962 and concerns documents about an IRS judgment rendered against Henry Stonehill's business. Prior to his passing away, Mr. Stonehill filed suit regarding a federal FOIA production related to the IRS judgment. He claimed the IRS's search and production of records was deficient. The executor of his estate, Dr. Patrick Lentz, continues to pursue this matter, alleging that the IRS failed to produce records regarding Mr. Stonehill's FOIA request. On December 3rd, December 3rd, 2024, Dr. Lentz filed a notice of appeal to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. He then filed an appellate brief on March 12th of this year, and the IRS filed this appellate brief on April 9th. The matter has been waiting scheduling for oral arguments, and copies of the brief have been provided for the board in Dropbox, and OOG will continue to monitor this case. Legislation is as follows. Legislative action regarding the Open Meetings Act. At the last board meeting, I reported on PR 26-0156, the Open Meetings Act, the Open Meetings Clarification Emergency Declaration Resolution of 2025, and the companion bills, Bill 26-0199, the Open Meetings Clarification Emergency Amendment Act of 2025, and B 26-0200, the Open Meetings Clarification Temporary Amendment Act of 2025, introduced by Council Chairman Phil Mendelson on March 28, 2025. On April 1st, the DC Council passed by a vote of 10-2 Bill 26-199 and Bill 26-200, emergency and temporary legislation that made sweeping amendments to the OMA. The resolution and declaration of emergency passed unanimously. The bill to repeal the Open Meetings Clarification Emergency Amendment Act of 2025, enacted by the DC Council, was introduced at Congress by Senator Mike Lee, Republican Senator of Utah, on April 10th. The bill was read twice and referred to the Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs. Just going back to the emergency and temporary legislation. The temporary legislation still needs to be voted on, and that should happen at the next council meeting of committee of the whole. Legislative action regarding DC FOIA. I also reported at the last board meeting on Bill 26-017, the Transparency is Accountability Amendment Act of 2025 that was introduced by Councilmember Zachary Parker on March 31st. As introduced, the bill will improve public access to critical records, including 911 transcripts and recordings, documents regarding government misconduct, and deliberative materials when the public interest in disclosure outweighs the district's interest in secrecy. The bill has been referred to the Committee of the Whole, and the copy of the bill is in Dropbox. Report to the council. The mayor of the District of Columbia, the Executive Office of Mayor, is required to provide an annual FOIA report to the DC Council. EOM submitted its FY 2024 report to the council on March 26. The report provides information on the public record disclosure activities of each public body of the district government for FY 24, which is October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024. A copy of the mayor's letter to the council and the report have been added to Dropbox. Lastly, I will report on administrative activity. DC Council public hearing, Bill 26-208, the Open Meeting Clarification Act of 2025 before the Committee of the Whole. On April 22nd, I testified before the Committee of the Whole on this bill. I reminded the Council of the vital role of open meetings in promoting public trust and transparency in DC government. And I urge the council to abandon the permanent bill and respectfully ask the council to vote against the temporary measure, Bill 26-200. I explained to the council that the permanent changes to the OMA are unnecessary to address the council's stated concerns and would negatively impact government transparency, thereby weakening public trust. I also submitted written testimony to the Committee of the Whole concerning legislative measures. Oral and written testimonies were provided by members of the public, advisory neighborhood commissioners, and former council member David Catania. A copy of my oral testimony and written testimony submitted to the Committee of the Whole, and the written testimonies submitted by others, along with the link to the access of the recording of the hearing, have been added to Dropbox. Mayor's order regarding the FY 25 budget. The U.S. Congress passed a $1.1 billion cut last month in its continuing resolution that treated Washington, D.C. as a federal agency and required it to revert to 2024 level spending, even though most of the district's revenue is derived from local funds. As a result, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser issued an order on April 15th, freezing spending on personnel and non-personnel expenses across all D.C. government agencies, including Bega. The freeze includes pay raises, bonuses, and special awards. Overtime will be frozen and work performed after April 27th. The mayor's order also provides for potential furloughs and facility closures. Hiring for new employees is also frozen. Bega's Chief of Staff, Christina Mitchell, is working with the City Administrator's Office on Bega's contemplated expenditures for the remainder of FY25 in conformity with this order. And lastly, this is not on the report, but I would like to offer congratulations to two of our members of our staff. Chief Judge Anna Blackburn-Risby of the Court of Appeals and Chief Judge Milton C. Lee of the D.C. Superior Court released the 14th Annual Capital Pro Bono Honor Roll, recognizing the contributions of those D.C. Bar members and other lawyers authorized to provide pro bono legal work in the District of Columbia who completed 50 hours or more of pro bono service during the prior calendar year. OOG is proud to announce that OOG attorney Anthony J. Skirbo made the 2024 Capital Pro Bono Honor Roll list. Congratulations, Anthony, on being recognized on this distinguished list. And lastly, the Notary Commissions and Authentications Office approved and commissioned OOG paralegal Kimberly Brown as a DC Notary Public. I would like to extend congratulations to her on this distinguished honor. This concludes the Office of Open Government's May 1st, 2025 report. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Allen. I also want to congratulate the board test. Thank you. And any questions for Director Allen?
And also congratulations to Anthony and to, sorry, who was it?
Kim.
Kim. for doing that. And thank you to all of you for coming out to the DC Bar Court, the Bench Bar Conference, the JBC. It was 2 years in the making. 2 years. You know, when I left the director's chair at OGE and I went to the DC Bar, no one told me I was going to be doing a conference every 2 years like this. So it's been quite an experience. But thank you very much for your support. I thought it went really well.
Yes, we enjoyed it.
Great.
Well done.
Any other questions, comments? Next on our agenda is a report from the Director of Government Ethics. Director Cook, please proceed.
Good morning, Chairperson Hutcheson and members of the board. I'm Ashley Cooks, Director of the Office of Government Ethics, and I'm pleased to present this report on the activities of the Office of Government Ethics, OGE. First is an update on the status of OGE operations. The information reported today regarding OGE's cases will not reflect any status changes that may occur because of actions taken by the board during today's meeting. For open investigations by status, we have 48 matters that are open, 1 matter that is open pending show cause hearing for a grand total of 49. For open undocketed matters, we have a grand total of 1. Pending state investigations by status, we have 36 matters that are closed pending collection, 2 matters stayed pending DC Superior Court case, 3 matters stayed for OIG investigation, and 3 matters stayed for U.S. District Court case for a grand total of 44. For regulatory matters by status, we have 39 matters that are closed pending collection, 74 matters that are open for a grand total of 113. Again, we currently have 49 open investigations and 8 matters that are stayed. The number of open preliminary and formal investigations includes 15 new matters. The investigative team resolved 13 investigations since the board last. Total does not reflect the number of complaints that were dismissed for a lack of jurisdiction. The quarterly complaint report for quarter 2 of fiscal year 2025 was published to the Bega website, and the press release and heat map, which outlines the number and types of cases that were closed in the quarter, will be published by the end of this week. A copy of the report for quarter 2 was placed in a Dropbox for your review. Next is an update on training and outreach. First, professional development trainings attended by staff. Human Resources Specialist Megan Stoudemire took the annual ADA Coordinator Training Part 1. Investigator Ileana Corrales took 2 Whitlander-Zelinsky courses, Measuring Interview Success and Cognitive Load Theory. Supervisory Attorney Advisor Asia Stewart-Mitchell attended DCHR's MSS course titled Giving and Receiving Feedback. General Counsel Rashi Raj attended Family Law and Public Benefits training from the DC Bar's Pro Bono Center. I completed the Art of Feedback, Transform Your Leadership Communication by DC Bar's John Payton Leadership Academy. For trainings conducted by staff, since the last board meeting, OGE conducted 7 training sessions. That includes 2 new employee orientation ethics segments, the April monthly ethics training, a custom ethics training for the Office of the Administrative Hearings, a board and commissions training for the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, specifically for new financial disclosure filers, the quarterly board and commissions ethics training, and the April brown bag session. On Monday, April 28th, Supervisory Attorney Asia Stewart-Mitchell, Auditor Courtney Walker, and Program Coordinator Stan Kosick presented the April Ethics Council Brown Bag session on financial disclosure review reports and FDS enforcement. 32 ethics counselors attended the session, and a copy was placed in Dropbox. During the month of April, 136 employees were added to the learning management system. The training team has been meeting with LRN to discuss creating new training courses and updating existing training courses to make them more accessible to users. Last month, OGE launched BGA 601, Financial Interest and Disclosures, which is an updated version of the previous financial disclosure training course. OGE is currently working to create BGA 929, Outside Employment, which will address issues that employees should avoid when maintaining employment outside of the government. Additionally, OGE launched a training campaign which invited 314 advisory neighborhood commissioners to complete BGA 920 Advisory Neighborhood Commissions Ethics Training. For outreach, on April 11th, OGE issued its bi-monthly newsletter, Ethically Speaking. This particular issue focused on the importance of financial disclosure statement and the filing deadline. It also covered topics such as upcoming trainings, recent enforcement actions, and ethics enforcement in the federal government and other state agencies. Next is an update on advisory opinions and advice. First, an update on informal advice. OGE's legal staff provided advice for approximately 21 ethics inquiries, which is 14 less than the 35 reported at the April board meeting. This number does not include responses we have provided to questions regarding the lobbyist and FDSE filing systems. For formal advisory opinions, OGE has 2 advisory opinions in the works, one on widely attended gatherings and an edited advisory neighborhood commissioner sign-on letter opinion. Next is an update on legislation and rulemaking. The first one is the Budget Support Act proposal. OGE has completed a draft Budget Support Act proposal, which will amend the lobbyist section of the Ethics Act by repealing Section 1-1162.28A4, which excludes 501c4 organizations from registering as lobbying entities, and adding language that requires those entities to register in the same manner as 501c3 organizations. The amendment will also require lobbyists to file a termination report when they do not intend on engaging in lobbying activity and prior to the next filing deadline. A copy will be sent to the council pending our budget oversight hearing, which is not currently scheduled. Next is an update. The next update here is lobbyist registration and reporting. OGE is in the process of amending the lobbyist section of Bega's regulations to make technical amendments and clarifying reporting requirements. Specifically, the amendments change the registration fee and late filing fine amounts to the new fee schedule that was adopted in the previous Budget Support Act. The amendments will include language that notifies registrants that the best course of action is to file a termination report when they do not intend on engaging in lobbying activity. A copy was placed in the Dropbox for the board's review. Next is an update on OGE administrative matters. OGE's human resources specialist and attorney advisor vacancies have been filled, and both new employees have started with the office. Attorney advisor Shannon Monk spent the last 4 years working for the U.S. Office of Government Ethics, providing advice and training to government ethics officials. She received her JD from Syracuse University and an MPA from Florida International University. She is a Tampa native, but has lived in Northern Virginia for the past 10 years. Human Resources Specialist Megan Stoudemire joined the Bega team, bringing 3 years of experience from the Metropolitan Police Department. At MPD, she supported a range of human resources functions with a focus on recruitment and employee services. Megan is excited to contribute her expertise to Bega's mission and support the agency's growing workforce. Please join me in welcoming both of them to Bega. The vacancy announcement for the legal fellow position closed, and OGE reviewed resumes and interviewed candidates. OGE will post its program support assistant vacancy announcement soon. OGE has requested a waiver to hire for both vacancies amidst the citywide hiring freeze. Next is an update on financial disclosure statement, FDS. Pursuant to DC Official Code Sections 1-1162.24 and 1-1162.25, public officials and certain government employees must file a financial disclosure statement as a means of transparency and to prevent engaging in conduct that violates the Financial Conflicts of Interest statute. Bega is responsible for ensuring that employees and public officials who meet the statutory requirement file their annual financial disclosure statement. We are in the middle of the 2025 financial disclosure season. As I previously mentioned in past meetings, the team provided 3 ethics counselors FDS trainings and 3 trainings for new filers. Attorney Stuart Mitchell and Program Coordinator Kosick participated in a session for board members, specifically the new FDS filers, on April 25th. These training sessions demonstrated how to file the financial disclosure statement using Bega's e-filing system. The deadline for agencies to have identified and provided their list of filers to OGE was March 3rd. OGE received most of the list, and staff uploaded 10,147 filers to the e-filing system. On April 1st, Program Coordinator Kosick coordinated mailing with our vendor, and on April 15th, he emailed filing notices to all filers. As of April 30th, 3,690 public officials have filed their financial disclosure statements. Program Coordinator Kosick will send 2 more reminders this season, and the filing deadline is May 15th. Next is an update on lobbying registration and reporting, LRR. Pursuant to DC Official Code Section 1-1162.27A, a person who receives compensation or expends funds in an amount of $250 or more in any 3 consecutive calendar month period for lobbying shall register with the Director of Government Ethics and pay the required registration fee. According to DC Official Code Section 1-1162.30, each registrant shall file a quarterly report concerning the registrant's lobbying activity during the previous quarter. On March 28th, Program Coordinator Kosick sent a notice to active lobbyists to file their 2025 second quarter activity reports. Second quarter activity reports were due on April 15th. Lobbyist activity remains strong in 2025, and activity is increased in 2025 compared to April 2024. The first quarter enforcement began with review of timely filings. And the last update is public investigations. There's only 2 matters there, 24-0016F and 25-0002F in Retrail and White. These are formal investigations based on the criminal indictment in which respondent, council member for Ward 8, allegedly agreed to receive $156,000 in bribes and accepted $35,000 in cash from a business owner in exchange for assisting with renewing the company's violence interruption contracts with the district government. And 2, allegations that the respondent violated the code of conduct by failing to file a full and complete public financial disclosure statement pursuant to DC Official Code Section 1162.24. Investigation 24-0016F is stayed pending the outcome of the criminal court case, which is scheduled for trial on January 12, 2026. Thank you. This concludes my report. I welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director Cooks, and welcome to Attorney Advisor Monk. Are you with us? Welcome. And also to HR Specialist Stoudemire. Welcome. Okay. Are there any questions for Director Cook's questions? Okay. The next on our agenda is the opportunity for members of the public in attendance at the meeting to make a comment at this time. Are there any members of the public present who want to make a comment? Okay. If there are no comments from the public, we will proceed with the next item on the agenda, and that's our executive or closed session. This is a session to discuss ongoing confidential investigations pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B14, to consult with an attorney to obtain legal advice and to preserve attorney-client privilege between an attorney and a public body, pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B4A, to discuss personnel matters, including the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, performance evaluation, compensation, discipline, demotion, removal, or resignation of government appointees or employees or officials in pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-75B10, to deliberate on a decision in which the Ethics Board will exercise quasi-judicial functions pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B13, and to discuss contract negotiations strategies pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B2. May I have a motion to enter executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board enter into executive session. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Hearing the motion passes unanimously. The board, please move over to the boardroom for the executive session. We will return to this meeting after the conclusion of the executive session to report out any matters decided, finish any other business, and adjourn the meeting. The time is now 12:09 p.m. and in its executive session, the board approved the opening of an investigation in NRA 25-0005-F NRA Tara Jones, and the board also approved the dismissal of 24-0012-F NRA Ruth Navarre. And the time is now 12:10, and this concludes the meeting of the DC Board of Ethics and Government Accountability. The next meeting will be held at the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, 1030 15th Street Northwest, Suite 700 West, and virtually on June 5th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Oh, were we supposed to do something?